It's a little dark in here, or no? It's okay. Yeah, first thing is a reminder that I'm not speaking about transfers, okay? So don't even bother. Second is injury update. So Patrick is back in training and will be in the squad. So that's really good news. Then Luis is getting closer and closer, but not quite ready. And then Stewart and Archie. And the only other update is that Cree Somerville is out for a month, probably. The ankle injury and tackle he sustained in the Cardiff match is a little bit of a talking point for me, because I think between Cree and Willie specifically, that opponents have tried to bully them, that they have a hard time containing them, specifically when they're on the move in the dribble. And frankly, I don't think that the referees have protected those two players well enough. And so it's put them susceptible to injury and to hard tackles. And I would like to see the referees protect attacking players more. So we're a little disappointed that Cree will be out. He's hopeful that it'll be quicker than a month, but that's what the prognosis is right now for summer.
Hi, Jesse. Okay. Hi. Can I just pick up on the Patrick Bamford news? Obviously, he increases your attacking options. Rodrigo's scoring goals at the moment as well. Some of the young lads came on at the weekend and made an impression, the young strikers.
Yep.
Potentially one coming in that I know you don't want to talk about.
Yes, good job.
So does this feel like this is the strongest pool of attacking players that you've had since you've arrived at the club? And could they be the difference makers for you in the second part of the season?
I feel like if we had everybody healthy and we could really commit to the development path of those individuals, like we've seen with Willie and Rodri, where they've been, for the most part, healthy for a long stretch, that then you can, and when Cree was healthy, that you can then start to see the progress that they can make. If you were to go through and say, all right, you have Rodri and Patrick and Joffy, and then you have Luis and Cree and Willie, and then Jack and Brendan, and then you add the young players as well, then you start to feel like, yeah, you have a really good complement of attacking pieces and the chance to push attacking wise. So, yeah.
Will you have some decisions to make this month in terms of maybe streamlining some of those options and letting one or two go out on loan to get first team football? I'm talking about the likes of Joe Gelhardt.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to talk specifically about incoming or outgoing transfers, but that's when we're talking about squad building, it's always trying to figure out how to get every player the minutes that he needs to develop. And then the discussion is it better here with the 21s? Is it better here with the first team? Is it better on the loan? Those are always open discussions, and we try to be really honest and open with our players and then help them to make decisions that are best for them in their career.
It's been very stop-start in terms of the Premier League over the last few months with the World Cup and the FA Cup last week. How important now is this phase of the season in terms of putting some distance between Leeds and the bottom three?
Yeah, in general, I think we wanted a good start because we want to just be able to steadily get better and grow. And that's one of the things that has been the most difficult, is to really jumpstart development as a group. I think there's a lot of individuals that have grown a lot throughout the process, but as a group, it still hasn't come together the way that I would like. And the lack of consistency from match to match, and then in match, what a first half and a second half can look like, or vice versa. It means that we're not able to really push this the way that I would want, so that we don't have to talk about the table. But that's where we are. And it's my job to figure out how to help the group improve in that way. And that's what I'm constantly trying to do, is help create more and more clarity and understanding for what roles are and how to execute on match day. That's ultimately what will be the goal again for Villa, and to do it in a way where we can also hunt the result.
Thank you.
Yep.
Jesse, I know you don't want to talk about what's the elephant in the room about a new striker coming in and all that sort of thing. But at the same time, allowing players to go out when injuries are clearly mounting, is that wise? If you were to allow them to go?
Well, it depends on every situation. Like we could go through, if we talk about Clicky, right? There was lots of discussions along the way on what was best for him, what was best for us. And then, even when he's here, how we used him and was he happy? Could he understand and commit to that or not? And so and then Victor, Angus, Andrea, all of us talk a lot about, okay, what's best for us in terms of our process of moving along. And we've committed to a lot of new young players from outside the league because we felt like those are some of the players that would fit best to what we're trying to develop here. There's always these little discussions going on. And overall, I feel like we like our squad.
Bringing players in, I know to build a squad and improve a squad is good, but what about the pathway, which is often talked here? And I'm thinking of players like Charlie Cresswell. What sort of future would they have? Do they have?
Yeah, I really like Charlie. I think his mentality is amazing. We could go down Lewis Bate, Dan James. We could talk about all of them, right? And every situation's a little bit different. And all the players that we have under our umbrella, in general, we keep them in our umbrella because we like them and we think they have potential for the future. But then situations arise that there's financial pressures, there's needs for players and discussions with agents and interest from other teams. And then you always just have to manage things internally the way that you think is best.
So is it fair to say that you might have to let some people go, either on loan or otherwise, just so you can facilitate a transfer?
No, I think it's more just, again, evaluating at all moments what's best for the situation.
When it's difficult, like 2 wins in 16, Jesse, you talk about leadership quite a lot in a leadership group. Elan Mellier was mentioned by Liam Cooper to me yesterday, someone that sort of stepped to that plate. What are you seeing from him that would suggest that he has that quality?
Well, first, the 2 and 16, I would talk more about the last 8, right? And I would say actually in the last 8, then our balance is not bad. And I think that we are, in a result way, moving in the right direction. For me, again, trying to get performances to continue to grow and add up, to be more and more so that we can be closer and closer to what we're trying to develop here is even more important. And I feel like we're in a good place. And we're poised to have a click or a spark happen that can launch us. Elan, for me, has made major progress. I've challenged him to be more of a well-rounded goalkeeper that can read the game in all moments. So I've sometimes called it the quarterback of the team when he has the ball in his possession, and then sometimes almost like a last defender and how he manages those situations. And so we've tried to expand his comfort zone from everything from a leadership perspective to a last defender perspective to a decision-making perspective. And I think we've seen a lot of growth in that. And at the same time, seen his ability to make saves and make big plays to help us manage results. So I like Elan a lot. I think his potential is massive, really massive. I think he may be one of our biggest high potential players. And he knows I like him. And at the same time, he knows that I'm going to challenge him in all ways to continue to try to grow.
And is he all right as well?
Yeah, he's ready to play.
He's ready to play.
He's ready.
Verba came in and made an interesting first start the other day. Good, solid challenge. You may be surprised a few by putting in midfield. But what sort of an impression is he making on you and the squad so far? And where do you see his place? Or is that versatility something that you specifically want?
Yeah, first from a personality perspective, it's never easy to come into a new team. And I think that this team has strong personalities. But I've challenged Max to not be passive in the way that he inserts himself. I've told him he doesn't have to run around and tell everybody what to do. But I know that one of his main strengths is how vocal he is on the pitch, how clear and intelligent he is on the pitch, and how fearless he is. So I think that we saw that, right? And to be honest, when I put him in the match, I probably, is that you, James? I told him he was going in at center back, then left back, then center back, then left back, then sixth, then center back. I probably changed my mind 6 times. because on my mind was I wanted him to have a good start and put him somewhere that he was most comfortable, which is probably center back. But I also know that he can be impactful at left back in a big way. And I also know that he can play the 6. And in the end, I wanted to get the balance right of giving him the best opportunity to have success the first time he stepped on the field for the team, but also put him in a position where I thought he could have the biggest impact to help us get the result in the match. And in the end, I probably put more emphasis on what was important for the match. And that's the decision I put him at the 6. And I thought he did a really good job.
And as far as Aston Villa are concerned, what have you made of how they've changed things around and the recent form under the new manager?
Yeah, I would say in general, I've seen a team that's more dynamic against the ball, that plays a little bit differently with the ball as well. Still very effective in set-piece situations. Still, what you know is they have a lot of quality on the pitch, a lot of really good players, and when they're playing confidently, that they're a very good team and very difficult to deal with. So I know Emery from playing against Villarreal with Salzburg in Europa League, and we lost 2-0 at home and lost 2-1 away. And his team was very disciplined and defensively sound, but also dangerous in counterattacking situations. And they had a lot of good players, and he has a lot of good players again. So he's certainly a good manager, and I think he's made a positive impact on them, and it'll be important for us to know that going to Villa Park, that we need to be at our best.
When you're looking for better tactical understanding from your squad, how much do you look to players who've played for you previously to provide it or to lead it on the pitch?
Yeah, obviously that's a key. You know, I mean, if you were to break it down in general, I think against the ball in some of our defensive situations, and what we've tried to accomplish in our pressing and counter-pressing, we've been pretty good. With the ball, we haven't looked as cohesive and clear. And I'm trying to always work with the tactical ideas and adjust certain tactical nuances to give the players the best chance to be successful. Sometimes we've been asked players to play a little bit in different positions, but I think for the most part, we try to. My goal is to always put players individually and the group on the pitch in ways that they can be successful, and where they can feel comfortable, and then help them to go after the game in a way where they're positive in their mind and they're confident in what we're trying to accomplish. Obviously, the last 2 matches, I think we have a little bit of a slower first half and a much more aggressive second half. And in general, what you see with us is when our backs are against the wall, that we play freer and we play more aggressive. And so I'm trying to get us to incorporate that mindset from the start and to believe that in all phases of the game that we can be confident and we can be dominant and we can become the team that I know we can become. You know, and one of the things I've been saying to them lately is that I believe in them. And sometimes I think I believe in them more than they maybe believe in themselves. And so trying to continue to push them to show how good I know they can be. That will continually be an emphasis.
And when you think about the goals that you've conceded this season, have you spotted themes, perhaps space at the back post behind the fullback? Has that frustrated you that that's cropped up again?
Well, I don't know that it has really. You know, the goals against Cardiff were are getting beat behind our center backs, which hasn't happened too much this year. And then the goals against West Ham were also a little bit different kind of goals. And so one of the things about switching to the flexible 4-3-3 is to help protect ourselves a little bit more on the back post because we were getting beat there and clearly opponents were identifying that. That's a tactic here in England, more so than other places I've been, is the chip cross to the back post. And so, you know, obviously then we're trying to address that more to deal with that.
Hi, Jesse. You've moved to a 4-3-3 that requires more central midfielders. Adam, of course, had minor surgery last week. Mark had a bit of an issue going into Cardiff, but was on the bench. You've just lost Clicky. Are you happy with the quality and quantity of options you've got in that department?
Yeah. And I think, you know, the 4-3-3, we can also use in the midfield 3 Brendan. We can use Jack. We've used Cree a little bit in in that position as well. So, because it's kind of, what we ask of it can be different against the ball than with the ball. So, we're evaluating that as well in the future, like how to add to that position and get stronger there as well. But I like the guys we have.
Obviously, the left back department's well documented. Pascal's done really well. Max has come in. You've got Junior there as well. A lot of us are quite impressed with Junior towards the end of the Cardiff game, and he had a bit more attacking freedom. Have you considered maybe playing him as an out-and-out winger at times with no defensive responsibilities?
I know that if we play our 4-3-3, that becomes a 3-4-3. That the better position to play Junior in it is that variable left winger position. But given how we've been using different players, I decided to start with Junior more as the 3 build-up, and then we kind of switched more to a flexible. Sometimes we call it a 3.5, 4 build-up. And then you saw him come more alive, and I thought impact the game in a really good way. I thought his second half was very good. So obviously I knew that, but going into the match, and even when I talked about before about putting players in positions that they're comfortable, that was one that I was thinking of. So I was happy to see Junior play so well in the second half. That's the first thing. And second is, I think we know that he can be a reliable defender, but that his real strength is his ability to get on the ball, get in the attack, be active. And I thought, again, in the second half, he was a big part of us getting back in the match.
Do you think then that you know who you want at left back? I mean, Verba's only been in the building for a week or so, and you've got 3 options. Do you think you know who it is that needs to be playing there?
I think I want to figure out a way to help incorporate Max quickly, because I think he can be part of us moving forward in a positive manner. But I also know that we're getting a lot out of other guys too, and I want to make sure that I get that balance right, and I set Max up to succeed, and that I set the team up to succeed. A little bit how I was talking about even making the change against Cardiff. I think that we have, even when you look at the fixture list coming up, you can see that we have a lot of matches, and we're going to have to get the balance right of who to play when. Ideally, like against Cardiff, I wouldn't want to make so much of a rotation in the squad, but given where we were with a few injury situations, we needed a few more days for guys to get back to 100%. So it worked out that way. But my goal will be in the future to not have such big rotation and just to make a few positions here and there, or sometimes go match to match with the same group.
What's the feeling about injuries, and how much of a frustration have they been? Because it couldn't be said that the injury list has been light this season. They felt like they've been pretty constant.
Yeah, I mean, other than some of the long-term ones, and how we choose to look at it is non-contact versus contact. Okay, so the reason I bring up Cree is because obviously you don't want your attackers to be getting contact injuries. But the non-contact injuries, I think for the most part, have been pretty good. The balance for me is we have a lot of discussions here with our physical team. I have my methods, and then there's methods that were done in the past, and then there's methods that are core to the different people and the experiences that they have, and how to blend them together to get a team that can perform at its absolute highest level physically, but balance that with freshness and lack of injuries is a big challenge, right? Obviously, the younger the team you have, the better. The better chance you have to limit muscle injuries. But for the most part, I think we're on the lower end this season of that. And more of the injuries are contact type injuries. So, then you have some of the players that have been here for a while and that are a little bit older that are struggling with chronic issues. So Adam Forshaw, trying to keep him as fit and healthy and get that balance right. Patrick Bamford, even sometimes with Coops, how we get that part right. Those are still challenges, and the balance of how hard we push them, how many days off we give them, what kind of procedures we provide them so that they have the best chance to be at 100% or as close to it as possible is always a little tricky.
Jesse, you mentioned with regards to Max's leadership qualities, is that something you specifically went after in January, or is that just a useful byproduct of the player you wanted?
I mean, the thing I've always said about our group here is the character of the team is so strong, and so whoever we've added at any given moment or or had discussions with, a lot of it is trying to get to the core of who they are as people and what that will mean to the overall group, because that is massive for us. That is maybe on line one the most important thing. And so when Max's name, when we started to discuss that, I know who he is. I know what kind of leader he is. I know what kind of man he is. Obviously, I know what kind of player he is. But more importantly, I think he's the type of person that will always be up for the biggest challenges and want to be part of a team, a real team. So, and even now, I do my research. Victor does his research. Andre, we all do our own. And the fact that Max was also at Sevilla, which obviously Victor has a long history with, I think helped in the overall process of all of us feeling really comfortable that Max was the right kind of guy to bring into our environment. So, but I know that Max, he's still young, and he has to establish himself with this team and in this league. But I know from that perspective, he has a very high ceiling in terms of what his leadership can be.
And just in terms of the personality of the squad, as you say, we always see that they're always fighting. They're at the best when their backs are against the wall. But just in terms of the sort of the vocal side of the team and maybe their ability to solve problems without you when they're over the white line, how do you assess where they are right now?
Yeah, I mean, listen, my goal, the games are so demanding. And I tell you, most places I've been, I'm not standing up on the touchline as much as I am here. One of the reasons is because I hate sitting in the dugout at Ellen Road because the eye level view is terrible. But another is that I feel the need to try to help them in moments. My goal is always to make myself as obsolete as possible. And in Germany, I got ridiculed for saying that. And maybe in my German, I wasn't able to express it quite as well. But I believe the job of a leader is to make himself obsolete, is to provide the people within an organization all the tools that they need to understand what the plan is, how to execute it, how to be themselves, and how to carry it out as best possible. And so obviously I'm not pleased with the fact that I haven't gotten it there yet. And it never really gets there, but I need to move the needle that way. I need to try to continue to provide them with all the tools they need to believe that they can be the team that I know that they can. So, and that has to do with everything that I do, the tactical part, the leadership part, the reinforcement, trying to stay positive and show them belief. All those things are right now, I think, of utmost importance.
Just to follow up what you said at the start about Cree and Willie's treatment, how shocked have you been by that, and what can you do about it, do you think? Have you contacted the referee's office?
I have tried to eliminate most discussions about the referees or with the referees. That's either in the media or behind closed doors, just because I haven't found it to be very useful. So in the end, I can only go the different leagues I've been at. Internally, there's been discussion within the referee ranks about protecting attacking players. I think the biggest thing that's been done here in England that makes it different than a lot of leagues is the automatic 3-game ban on straight reds, which I think is a good thing. But then I think there's also just managing it in the match to make sure that the players that most fans come to see have the best chance of being on the pitch.
And on Willie, there's been concerns raised about the fans' chant towards him. I know the club are aware of this. Do you share those concerns, and would you like the fans to potentially change the words of the song?
I think the point would be that we always want to be respectful, right? I mean, I think in our sport, it's so important to maintain high levels of respect. And I know within our group, we have that at the highest level. I think our fans are great. They show passion. They want the team to be successful. They can be hard on the team sometimes and hard on me about what we're doing, and we understand that. And I think that I love how much they love Willie. Like, I will be walking around my house chanting or like whistling the tune in my head sometimes, but just is there a way to modify it to be as passionate but be more respectful? That's what I would say. Hi. I mean, you know, for me, in those moments, you feel bad for Cree because you know he's in a good way and you want him to continue his process. But you know, he took a whack, by the way, at Elche, a really bad whack that he never really came back from, and then he's taken more whacks in the matches recently, and so you know, he's, again, when you're not the biggest guy but you're very nimble and quick and very difficult for defenders to deal with, sometimes it's a tactic to be aggressive, and sometimes it's just that they're too fast for the opponent. But listen, of course, like when we lost Luis for a long time, and when we've lost Patrick, when different guys that we feel are important, it's disappointing because you want the team to have the chance to be at its best with all of our complement of our best players. But this is also part of the reality, and it's time for other guys to step up. And one of the good things was to see Sonny Perkins when he had his opportunity to step up for the team in a big way. He was ready and he helped us. Good, done? No embargo? Great.